Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 29. I'll recite the verse. Saha dehena manena vardhamanena manyuna karoti vigraham kami kamishvantaya chatmanaha. Translation. With the growth of the body, the living entity, in order
Can
to...
you put it on our screen? We don't have it.
Oh, okay. So we do the screen share. I'm not the co-host. Can someone do the screen share, please?
Oh, okay. That's okay then. That's okay if you cannot do it.
331:29. If someone can do it, it will be good.
Yes, Paramananda Chaitanya Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I made you the host. Hare Krishna, co-host.
Okay, I'll have to open. Can you share the verse, or
Okay, let me
try?
just do it.
Let me also try. Hmm. Hmm. Here is the verse. Are you able to do, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I clicked on share. What do I do next? I'm sorry, I haven't done this before on the phone.
Okay. Let me. Hmm.
I click on share screen and then
Let me see if I can do that. Can you see my screen now?
it's coming up. 1 second. Yeah, it is there now. Thank you.
Is it
Yes.
okay? Okay. So I hope that it is visible and it is clear.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So yeah. Sahadehena manena vardhamanena manyuna karoti vigraham kami kamishvantaya chatmana. Translation. With the growth of the body, the living entity, in order to vanquish his soul, increases his false prestige and anger, and thereby creates enmity towards similarly lusty people. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, verse 36, Arjuna inquired from Krishna about the cause of living beings' lust. It is said that a living entity is eternal and as such qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord. Then what is the reason he falls prey to the material and commits so many sinful activities by the influence of material energy? In reply to this question, Lord Krishna said that it is lust which causes a living entity to glide down from the exalted position to the abominable condition of material existence. This lust circumstantially changes into anger. Both lust and anger stand on the platform of the mode of passion. Lust is actually the product of the mode of passion, and in the absence of satisfaction of lust, the same desire transforms into anger on the platform of ignorance. When ignorance covers the soul, it is the source of his degradation to the most abominable condition of hellish life. To raise oneself from hellish life to the highest platform of spiritual understanding is to transform this lust into love of Krishna. Sri Narottam Das Thakur, a great Acharya of the Vaishnava Sampradaya, said, Kam Krishna Kamarpane. Due to our lust, we want many things for our sense gratification, but the same lust can be transformed in a purified way so that we want everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anger also can be utilized towards a person who is atheistic or one who is envious of the Personality of Godhead. As we have fallen into this material existence because of our lust and anger, the same two qualities can be utilized for the purpose of advancing in Krishna consciousness, and one can elevate himself again to his former pure spiritual position. Srila Rupa Goswami has therefore recommended that because in material existence we have so many objects of sense gratification which we need for the maintenance of the body, we should use all of them without attachment for the purpose of satisfying the senses of Krishna. That is actual renunciation. Hare Krishna. I'll stop the share. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sopadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhayeva cha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So first of all, I would like to just thank Yes Madhupati Prabhu and all the leading devotees who have given me this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Yesterday, when we just arrived, Anuj Prabhu and Ambika Devi, they offered a very beautiful garland. It's so beautiful, I thought, I should not just throw away, I should again utilize it. So I am just, wearing this beautiful garland which they offered me yesterday.
Yeah.
Prabhupada taught utility is the principle. So, Hare Krishna. So, yeah, so this is the, this series of verses are teachings of Lord Kapila to Mother Devhuti, and he is describing the suffering of the living entity in the childhood, in the boyhood, and even in the youthhood. So the verse which we just read today describes that when a person is youthful, that person has so many desires, lusty desires. And of course, not everyone can satisfy all one's desires. Because of lusty desires being unsatisfied, or no one can fully satisfy one's own desire. And because of the frustrated desires, a person experiences anger. And thus a person suffers. So the suffering in the youthhood is described to be here in this verse due to the lust and the anger. Of course, in other ages also, after youthhood, a person continues to suffer from this. And it is recommended here that this desire for lust can be purified and can be transformed into love when we engage in the service of the Lord. And also in the purport, Srila Prabhupada described that how also anger can also be purified by directing it towards those who are envious of the Lord. The example is given of Hanuman. Those are envious demons and all that, those who try to prosecute the devotees. So we can utilize anger towards them in a befitting way. So in today's class, I'll just focus on this word love, because that's our prayojan, that's our goal. We want to develop our dormant love for the Krishna, which in this material world is transformed into lust. Actually, original is love. So all the living entities, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai. So as we understand that every living entity is potentially having that love or carrying the love within the heart, which has got corrupted into lust in this world, but which can again be transformed into that pure loving desire. So I'll just describe the 4 ways or 4 qualities by which we can transform the lust of the heart into love. The first quality is we have to learn to compromise. Now this is, I'm talking for the practicing devotees over here, or these principles will be valid to anyone else also in general. So in any particular relationship, if we want to develop love, we have to learn to compromise. There is a statement that if I want something and I get it, that is my luck. If I just want and I get it. But if I want something and I earn it, that means I work hard for it. That is called one's ability. And if I want it and I compromise, that is a sign of love. Just like Srila Prabhupada also said that you will show your love for me by how you cooperate. And actually, cooperation is not possible without compromise. So, of course, when we talk of compromise, we are talking of compromising in certain details. We are not talking of compromising any principles. But yes, we may compromise certain details, and that will help us to gradually develop love in any particular relationship. The second quality which will help us to develop our love is to overlook the faults, because it is described that Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, and it doesn't take any great intelligence to see the faults in others. Absolutely is a very commonplace thing, but it's requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of good consciousness. It requires a lot of purity to be able to overlook the fault when it is very obvious. There's a beautiful verse in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat where Lord Chaitanya says, "Iha te ye dosh dekhe, taha rase dosh." Lord says, one who sees the fault, that person has a greater fault. So when we look fault of others, we should remind ourselves that the greater fault is mine, or it's the fault of my vision that I'm seeing the fault. Of course, if we have a particular service, a designated service given by our senior devotees, given by our guru, and we see the fault in order to help that person in a compassionate way, that's service. So that is not considered as fault finding. But in general, when we do not have a designated service and we look the faults of others, that is a bigger fault on our own self. So we develop love in any relationship by overlooking the faults. The third, of course, I am speaking of these four qualities, which will acronym to the word love itself. So the first one we discussed is that we have to learn to compromise, starting with L. O stands for overlooking the faults. And the third aspect of love is voluntary surrender and service. There is a beautiful story in Chaitanya Charitamrita where South Indian Brahmana, how he awakened his dormant love for Krishna by this voluntary service and surrender. So the spiritual master asked him to ask this Brahmana in Srirangam to daily recite all the 18 chapters, 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. And it's mentioned that Shri Kshetre rahe ek Vaishnava Brahman Devalaya Asi Kare Gita Avartan. So it was his daily practice. He would come to the Srirangam temple. He will, as we see, there are so many smaller shrines. There are so many sitting places over there. So he would come and daily recite Bhagavad Gita, all the 700 verses. And he, while reciting, he would experience great joy himself, but his recitation was ashuddh. Is mentioned ashuddha padena loka kare upahase. So he was reciting. I'm sure it would take him several hours to recite. And because we were reciting and his recitation was impure, as when we recite some Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam verses, we may also mispronounce some verses, and technically, as per the rules of Sanskrit language, our recitation may be imperfect, ashuddh. So this Brahmana was not scholarly. He would recite the Bhagavad Gita verses and the recitation was, according to Sanskrit, imperfect. So therefore, there were many other scholarly Brahmanas in Srirangam. They were all making fun of him. All making fun of him. Keha se keha ninde taha nahi mane avishta haiya gita pade anandit mane. So this verse is something worth contemplating. Just imagine he is reading Bhagavad Gita because his spiritual master has instructed, and people are laughing at him. They are ridiculing him. Now, some of them are saying, come, everyone should come here. And if anyone wants to learn how to recite Bhagavad Gita, he should learn from this Brahmana. And everyone was laughing because his recitation was imperfect. And so just imagine, people are passing sarcastic remarks on you. Not one or two, there are many of them. And they are laughing at him. And this person is completely oblivious. Now, when we do something and someone passes a slight negative remark, we cannot forget for the whole day or sometime for a whole week or sometime even for a whole lifetime, actually. This is very common. But this person, uh, his consciousness is so elevated that he didn't mind any of these sarcastic remarks, which is very uncommon. Why? Because he is totally absorbed in reading Bhagavad Gita. He is absorbed. Avishtahiya Gita pade anandis mane. So here is one important lesson that the changing circumstances of this world, the negativities of this world in general, including these negative remarks that we are discussing, that will weigh very heavy on our consciousness when our consciousness doesn't have some absorption in Krishna. When the mind finds some absorption, some pleasure in hearing, chanting, glorifying the Lord, then the negativities of this world will not weigh heavily on us. So this person was fully absorbed, and therefore, all these negative comments, the sarcastic remarks, he absolutely did not bother him at all. And he continued to read Bhagavad Gita with that great absorption. And Lord Chaitanya took notice because he used to daily visit Srirangam temple. And Lord Chaitanya became so happy just to see him reading Bhagavad Gita in an absorbed way while overlooking, all the negative remarks and so on. And Lord Chaitanya approached him and said, Mahaprabhu puchila tare shun mahashay, kaun arth jani tumhare to sukh hai. So Lord Chaitanya says, well, what makes you so happy reading Bhagavad Gita? Which verse of Bhagavad Gita you are reading? Which commentary are you referring to? Share with me your joy. And this Brahmana says, I am totally illiterate. I do not know the meaning of Bhagavad Gita. Oh, so how come you are so ecstatic on reading Bhagavad Gita? And he simply says, because my spiritual master has asked me to read Bhagavad Gita, therefore I am making an attempt to recite Bhagavad Gita. But what gives you so much ecstasy? When I am reading Bhagavad Gita, that beautiful picture of Parthasarathi Krishna dressed in golden, yellow, brilliant garments. So he described the whole Shyam Sundar form of the Lord, which appears as a Parthasarathi on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This form appears before me and is driving the chariot of Arjuna. He is giving him Hit Upadesh. This form, beautiful form, appears before me and I'm totally absorbed in that. So therefore I cannot stop reading Bhagavad Gita, because as long as I'm reading, this form manifests. And Lord Chaitanya became so happy because he had surrendered to the instruction of his spiritual master and serving the instruction of his spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya told him, he said, Prabhu kahe Gita pathe tomar adhikar, tumi se jana hai Gitar arth sar. He said, you alone has the right, you alone deserve to read and understand Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya, he established this illiterate Brahmana as the person who has actually understood Bhagavad Gita, right? or the person who deserves to read Bhagavad Gita and who deserves to understand Bhagavad Gita because of his voluntary surrender and service to his spiritual master. So that is third quality which will help us develop love. The fourth quality is empathy. Now, this empathy means we have heard the word sympathy, but the word empathy, sympathy means when we say, oh, I can understand your pain. That is sympathy. But empathy is even more deeper. Empathy means I feel your pain. That's empathy. So the great devotees of the Lord who love the Lord also have great empathy for all the living entities. And thus by trying to follow this quality, trying to develop this quality, will also develop our dormant love for Krishna. Empathy means paradukha dukhi, basically. We feel the pain of others. Durvasa Muni glorifies Amrish Maharaj. We see that how Amrish Maharaj was, Durvasa Muni was tormented by the Sudarshan Chakra. He could not save himself. Therefore, in great distress, finally he fell at Amrish Maharaj's lotus feet, and Amrish Maharaj prayed for Durvasa Muni. And Amrish then, then Sudarshan, he was spared and forgiven. And then the great sage Durvasa, he recited a beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam saying, Ho Ananta Dasa Nam Hatvam Drashtumadhyame Kritagasopi Yatrajan Mangalani Samihase. He said, oh, today I have witnessed the greatness of the devotees of Lord Ananta. Oh Ananta Dasanam Mahattam Drashtumadhyame. Today I have witnessed myself, today I have experienced the greatness of the love of the Lord's devotees. And what is that? Kritagasopi Yadrajan Mangalani Samihase. Although I tried to kill him, but he prayed for me, he empathized with me. And he prayed to the Lord to relieve me from this suffering. Thus, the great devotees of the Lord have this quality of empathy. They do not even envy those who try to prosecute. Rather, they remain ever well-wisher. As Prabhupada used to sign, your ever well-wisher. So that's the quality of the empathy. So we discussed that in brief in today's verse that the living entity suffers at every stage of life, and in the youthhood, yesterday it was how the living entity suffers in boyhood, and the youthhood, the living entity suffers because of lust, and which later transforms into anger. And Prabhupada says we can transform the lusts again back to the love, which is the original form. And we just discussed 4 qualities today in which we can do so, which acronyms to love. So we can transform the lust into love by, first thing we discuss is by learning to compromise, and that helps us to develop love. Second is by overlooking the fault, and third is voluntary surrender and service to spiritual master and to the Supreme Lord. And the fourth, starting with E, is having empathy for all the living entities. So these qualities, the 4 qualities that I discussed, the first 2 are in relation with the devotees. Okay? We learn to compromise in details in our relationship with devotees and overlook the fault. The third quality that we discuss is in relation to Guru and Krishna, which is voluntary service and surrender. And the fourth quality, empathy, actually is in relation to all the living entities. So in this way, by practicing these qualities, which loving devotee naturally practices, we can transform the lust into love. And while lust is the source of great burning of the heart, love is the source of unlimited joy. And this verse also describes that how when the lust is unfulfilled, it transforms into anger. Right? And that torments the heart even more. While the lust is in the mode of passion, the anger is in mode of ignorance. So that burns the heart, or that torments the heart even more. There is a beautiful wisdom given by one of the sages. So someone asked, can you define anger? A person asked one sage, can you define what is anger? And the sage gave a very beautiful reply. He said, anger is the punishment you give to yourself for someone else's mistake. So, and thus becoming angry, we torment our heart more than anyone else's. So, in this way, our acharyas, especially Prabhupada, has given us this process to transform the lust into love, which is the source of unlimited joy and contentment, and to also become free from the anger, which is one of the 3 great enemies. In this way, we can progress in spiritual life by following these directions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. So, thank you very much for joining today morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. I am once again grateful for this opportunity.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
You probably can take one question. And anybody has any question or reflection they would like to share? Re.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Guruji,
Gives a nice inspiration on how to solve the problem. It was very nice, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Guruji, one question.
Yes.
Even though we understand all this, when it comes to our realization and all, then again, the people are very much forced to come to this situation. They're tempting, and the nature puts them into such situation. Sometimes they break out, sometimes uncontrolled. So why it is happening? I mean, what is the reason that people are even though forced to come to this anchor, forced to come to go away from all this?
Yeah, basically, it's a we cannot immediately purify ourselves. The impressions of the anarthas, lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion are very strong, and to be able to overcome all of this takes time. But when we are making a conscious, when we are hearing about the importance, when we are making a conscious attempt, we should be able to just see that we are progressing. That means, if the previous situation agitated me so much and I reacted, and I did not act in a proper way, then I contemplate, I take a lesson from that, I keep hearing, chanting, and purifying my heart. The next time it happens, at least I do not react so much. I may again topple, I may again, not be able to follow the right path, but then I do not distract myself so much as previous one. Just like when a child is learning to walk, the child is practicing. So we are all practicing devotees. And the child topples over. But in due course of time, the child, the frequency of toppling over and falling on the ground while learning to walk reduces. It reduces, and gradually the child becomes more and more stable. So similarly, it's a long journey, but compared to millions of lifetime, bhakti is very quick also. But still, it's gradual process, and we should be able to see that though we cannot immediately follow all of it, if we are making the right attempt, if we are regularly hearing, if we are wanting to do, that is sincerely praying for it, then we should be able to see that we are making some progress steadily towards that. So if that is happening, then at least we are assured that we are walking on the right path, though we cannot become perfect overnight.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So once again, I thank you all. We will end the Bhagavatam class now.
Okay, thank you, Madhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madhupati Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
I'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day and weekend ahead. And we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shina Singha Jaya Singha Paradesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhenga Magra Veeda Mahavishnu Jala Sarvatomukam Narsingam Vishanam Bhadram Mityam Mityam Nahamiyam. Narsingha Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad ki jai.
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavanebhayo Vaishnavebhyo Vaishnavinda ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hari.